Hey everybody, welcome to our devotional series. I'm Pastor Ryan Brochus, and I'm really grateful to have been able to share this message with you this last week. From week 2 of Thessalonians, Are You Still There? It's our new sermon series. Pastor Brandon brought us the first week of that, and I was blessed and able to bring this second week to you. We are very grateful for what God has done, although the last 2 years have been really hard. On a lot of people for so many reasons, not just COVID, but all sorts of things that have really made the last couple years a challenge. The question to the church is, are you still there? We can get lost in our troubles, and we can get lost in a world like ours where there's so many things going on that want to pull our attention away from what God is doing and what He wants to do in each of your lives as well. Because you see, He has a very specific plan for your life. He has a plan to prosper you, not to harm you, as it says in Jeremiah. He has things, good works that He's planned for us to do. And so this time in the world is not an exception to that. He still wants to accomplish a lot through His church. You see, the church is His plan, as crazy and mysterious as that is. His church is His plan to bring the gospel to the world. And so the church in Thessalonica was a model for believers. It was a model for us today of what it means to be passionate and fervent and fruitful, and all these words that describe what we would want the Church of Jesus Christ to sound like. This last week, we covered a bit of that in the question, are you still fervent? You see, if you've ever watched a streaming service or any kind of entertainment online, if you let it go long enough, whether you fall asleep or you just happen to leave the room for a while, eventually a dialogue box comes up that asks you, hey, are you still there? And really, that's what Thessalonians does for us. It's sort of a check to say, are you still in it? Are you still with us? You know, it's really crucial to me to think that in our world right now, the church is really still the hope of the gospel and the hope for our world. We can't fall asleep on this one. We can't get caught sleeping when the message is so important. And so that was really what I wanted to talk about this last week and with you today, is to ask you that question, are you still fervent? That's a strange word, I know. It's not one we use all the time. And so I wanted to give you the definition of that word. It means having or displaying a passionate intensity. And there's an older archaic meaning that means hot, burning, or glowing. So are you fervent? Are you passionate? Are you intense? Are you hot, burning, glowing? That's really the message that Thessalonians brings to us, is a message of a church on fire, a church that was reaching people left and right, a church that was joyful in spite of their circumstances. They were generous. They weren't burdening anybody. They were serving. They were investing. They were giving wholeheartedly. And so I wanted to read to you just a little bit of a passage from 1 Thessalonians 2. This is verses 6 through 12, and I'm reading from the paraphrase, the Message, today, because I really like how it says it. Even though we had some standing as Christ's apostles, we never threw our weight around or tried to come across as important with you or anyone else. We weren't aloof with you. We took you just as you were. We were never patronizing, never condescending, but we cared for you the way a mother cares for her children. We loved you dearly. Not content to just pass on the message, we wanted to give you our hearts, and we did. You remember us in those days, friends, working our fingers to the bone, up half the night, moonlighting so you wouldn't have the burden of supporting us while we proclaimed God's message to you. You saw with your own eyes how discreet and courteous we were among you, with keen sensitivity to you as fellow believers. And God knows we weren't freeloaders. You experienced it all firsthand. With each of you, we were like a father with his child, holding your hand, whispering encouragement, showing you step by step how to live well before God, who called us into His own kingdom, into this delightful life. We don't want to be those freeloading type of Christians. We don't want to be people who just sort of hang on for the ride, waiting to get to the finish line on the coattails of somebody else. As the Church of Jesus Christ, perhaps now more than ever, the importance of being fully engaged, fully passionate, invested people in the message that Christ has for us. Not just showing up with the message, but giving our hearts as well. So I want to ask you a couple questions today. It's not just about your attendance. It's not just about your offering. It's not even just about your serving. But how much is your heart engaged in what you're doing? How much passion are you putting forth in the things that you're giving to God? You see, it's not just about checking a box spiritually, about fulfilling some kind of Christian obligation. It really becomes about the passion in our heart, the message that we live out in our life fruitfully before others. We want to be a model to other believers of, man, I wish I could live like that. I wish I could have that kind of joy, that kind of passion, that kind of heart in what I'm doing. And so the question is really there for all of us. Are we still fervent? We had this childlike, incredible faith when we first came to Christ. Are we still exhibiting that kind of faith before others? Today, wherever you are and wherever you're watching, maybe you're with a group or you're just watching this by yourself, I want to ask you today to consider how you might give in all of your heart to what you're doing. Don't let it just be about checking a box today. Are you still fervent? Are you still hot, glowing, on fire for what God wants to do in your life? The world needs it now more than ever. The message of Jesus Christ has not deteriorated. The power has not become less. It's in full effect. And the church of Jesus Christ is the vehicle that he wants to use to bring it to the world. God bless you all and have a great rest of your week.